What's up, guys? Welcome back to Archangel Ministries. I promised that I would keep you updated as more information became available so we can actually make a logical decision about what happened with Trump on Saturday. I'm here to fulfill my promise, and there is a lot to go through. So hopefully you'll hang out with me and enjoy this little segment for you, and I will try to put in my own tidbits of information where possible from a security operative perspective. Although I think this should be painfully obvious. I mean, it's all over the place. I'm sure you guys have probably heard a vast majority of it, but I had to take time to verify and double check my own sources as well as sources of other people before I brought any of this to you. Hopefully you guys aren't in the crew that's running around saying, oh, Trump set up the whole thing, Trump did the false flag, because that is the epitome of stupid. I'll explain why in a minute. Okay, so I have a lot, and I do mean a lot of notes to go over. I have been spending, ever since I dropped the last video, just going through, researching everything, trying to figure out if the bullet trajectories are correct, if there's possibly a second shooter and the Crooks kid was a fall guy. Honestly, it's probably going to be like the JFK assassination. I doubt we will ever know the actual truth because there's witnesses that kind of attribute to different factors, and this whole thing was a crap show. Total crap show. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. Alright, so let's see if we can get started here. Okay. Now, the FBI has done a lot of research or been investigating this Crooks kid. There's a lot of flaws with this story. All right. First and foremost is he had no ID on him, right? Yet somehow they were able to do his DNA and biometrics and figure out exactly who he is inside of an hour. Tells me one of two things. Either they have been illegally storing our biometric and DNA data for people that aren't criminals and have no former arrest records, which is illegal, or they're totally full of crap. He was a fall guy and they already knew exactly who he was. Those really are only two options there, right? But it gets weirder. I'm not sure how it can get weirder, but it gets weirder, okay? First off, all the rumors about this kid being bullied and stuff in high school, according to one of the people that he went to high school with, an interview that I watched with him today, that's a load of garbage. He wasn't really picked on. He was, for lack of a better phrase, a bit of a dick. You know, self-important, egotistical, thought he knew more than everybody else. You know, your typical lefty. And there's plenty of videos out there online of this dude that back that up. Trust me. So, yeah, he reminds me of your typical leftist, far leftist commentator in that aspect. Not sure how weird that is since he's a lefty, but, you know, we'll stick with it. As I explained before, the rifle that he used was his father's, right? His father had bought it a year ago or so, and it was a DDSM, if I remember correctly, a Daniel Defense, and supposedly it had a EOTech on it. This is important, and I will explain why. An EOTech is a holographic sight, and you may also have referred to it as a red dot. sight, right? It's usually 3 to 6 MOA. The red dot, the reticle size, when you're looking through it, it's about yay big. At 400 feet, that dot would have covered most of Trump's body, if not all of his body that was visible. So how you can secure a headshot from that range and know that you're on point with a EOTech without a magnifier, nonetheless, it's a bit iffy. I run all kinds of red dots. I ran EOTechs before, and don't get me wrong, it's a great optic. But at 400 feet, which is about 132 yards, somewhere between 132, 140, somewhere around in there, I would just assume use iron sights as I would at EOTech, if I'm being completely honest. At least I get more of a decent sight picture. But still, at 400 feet, I mean, you're looking at 1.25 football fields, roughly. It's not impossible. I mean, because your standard training and for the Marine Corps, unless they've changed it, it's the last time I hung out with some Marines, you had to be able to hit a target at 300 yards with irons, if I remember correctly. You can correct me on that if I misled that. It's 300 yards, 300 feet. I want to say it was 300 yards. So it's not impossible, but unless this guy has been doing some really intensive training, it's kind of unlikely. Anyways, moving on. Another thing that is odd is the fact that he had RC IEDs. For those of you who don't know, IED is an improvised explosive device. RC on the front of it means it was a remote-controlled explosive device. Or improvised explosive device. Sorry. Who taught him how to make those? And then you also have the whole thing where there were multiple sightings of them, to the extent that it was reported to the Secret Service, and they had put a bulletin out on him as an odd character, or a character of interest is the appropriate term. Yet he would show up, disappear, show up, disappear, showed up with a ladder and a backpack, got on top of the roof, and they did nothing about it. They even spotted him using a rangefinder, looking at Trump's area, calculating the range, the distance from where he was to where Trump was supposed to be. So, I mean, if that's not a red flag, I mean, there were tons of opportunities they could have detained him, or they could have delayed Trump from getting on stage, but they didn't. Again, doesn't make any sense. There's also some other stuff that goes into this kid that I find questionable. Both of his parents are psychologists. One of them, I believe his father, specializes in behavioral psychology, so that's a little bit of a red flag for me. I mean, there's so much here. And that Saturday, he's 20, and he has a job, and apparently he's a member of the firearms range, but when he left Saturday, his parents, I'm not sure what time, but they called the cops to report him missing. why would you do that if you weren't trying to create a cover for yourself? If you guys have any ideas, I'm all ears. Please leave it in the comments. I'm more than happy to read them. But to me, that the only reason why I would do that is to throw someone off my trail, throw someone off my scent. So, are the parents involved? Did they help plan? Was he programmed? I mean, this leaves a lot of questions. But it's painfully obvious this guy had to have help from the inside. I mean, multiple opportunities to nab him or delay Trump speaking, and they did nothing. Literally nothing. Showed up, wandered around, left, came back multiple times. And then here's the real clincher. According to, what's her name? The Secret Service lady. Now that I've got it in my notes, give me a second. I cannot remember her name to save my life. It's terrible. Cheadle. Kimberly Cheadle. That's it. It's on the tip of my tongue. She claimed that the building that he was on top of wasn't under the Secret Service's purview, that it was supposed to be the local PD. However, the local PD said that that was a load of hogwash, and that the Secret Service was the ones that dictated everything. And there were supposed to be Secret Service counter snipers at that building, but not on top of the building, mind you. No. She said that it was a risk because the roof was sloped. I'm not lying. Please look it up. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I looked at the roof. Maybe a 312 pitch. You could easily walk on that. Easily. But no, that's the reason why she didn't have a counter sniper up there or someone on the roof making sure that building was locked down. Yeah. And then when he went up on the roof to get his stuff set up, a cop followed him up, claimed that he'd turned around and pointed the barrel of his gun at him, and rather than the cop pulling his sidearm or anything else, he dropped off the side of the roof and did nothing. I mean, you know, I can honestly say at this point, truth is far stranger than fiction. I mean, the security protocols or lack thereof, the way this thing played out, it feels like you asked a 5-year-old to write the security details for President Trump. Actually, in all honesty, I think a 5-year-old could do better, because if you took a 5-year-old out to where they were doing this at and you explained to them what security protocols are in a very simplistic manner and where they thought the threats could come from, I'm sure they would have pointed to that building, because it's it's high ground. I mean, anyways, just terrible. All right, let me pull up some photos, and hopefully they'll be far better zoomed than what they were in my last video. I apologize for that. So let me pull up some photos, and we'll kind of go over some other details, and then we will get into some other facts, or, well, theories based on some of the eyewitnesses and stuff that were there. Alright, give me just a second to load those up for you. Okay, guys, this is what I wanted to show you. Or, well, this is one of the images I wanted to show you. Alright, so this is a basic layout of standard security type stuff. Now, in a real-life scenario, what would happen is someone from the Secret Service or whoever's running the security detail would show up days, weeks, sometimes months in advance to map out the entire area and pinpoint potential threats or areas that a threat could come from. Like you have the tree lines here. That's an area for a threat. These roads that are coming in behind it, you'd want those locked down. You'd want the entrances here locked down. You'd want security patrolling this general area where all these trees and stuff are. You'd want to be mindful of this tower here because that is high ground with a direct line of sight where the stage is going to be set up. You would definitely want this building covered here as well, since that is another bit of high ground that a shooter could actually post up on to take the shot. But as you can clearly see from the perimeter that the security service actually set up, they have left this entire section out. Now, as you'll see in a minute, there was actually a piece of farming equipment over here somewhere that could have been blocking line of sight to a certain degree. But I'll let you guys check out that photo in a minute and tell me what you think. That's it. There are major flaws in this, right? Now, granted, you got to have people for place for people to park and entry access. So I'm sure all of this was cordoned off. All of this is probably cordoned off. You had snipers that were on both of these roofs. Roofuses. Oh my goodness, it's been one of those days. These roofs right here that were directly behind Trump. However, there should have been someone posted up here as well. And if not on the roof, there should have been people patrolling this area, and they should have had this parking lot area here and here on lockdown. But they didn't. The question is why? You also would have wanted a man here at this tower, if not on the tower, providing overwatch as one of the sniper teams. But that didn't happen. Why? Again, why would you not do that? I mean, you could take a 5-year-old child, explain to them the basics of threat elimination, and then ask them to show you where they think a bad man could be or could attack somebody from, and they're going to point out these high ground areas. I guarantee it. Just with a basic understanding of a 5-year-old, they will get it. But for some reason, Secret Service doesn't know how to do that. Why? I mean, seriously, why? Right? I mean, you can tell, just from this photo alone, you can tell, okay, does this roof look like it has a slight slope to it? Yeah. Does this one? Yeah. Do the slants on these look any more extreme than this one? No, they do not. So we know that Cheadle's garbage response to that about it being a potential hazard to the security team is a load of garbage. I mean, just an absolute ridiculous load of garbage, man. Absolutely terrible. Absolutely horrendous. I mean, I've heard 4-year-olds come up with better lies. I really have. Alright, so this is the overview sky shot, right? Let's change up the view, and let's go to this view right here. Okay, now this right here is the piece of farm equipment that I was telling you about that was there. So here's the main stage area. You've got the people behind Trump here. Main crowd would have been right here. You have bleachers over here. Press box would have been around in here and possibly right here up in the front area. Sniper posts were here and here. This little white dot right here is where Captain Douchebag was sitting at, right? Now, at first glance, with the way Trump was speaking to people and, you know, posted up and doing this little rally and everything, one could definitely see how he could turn his head and the shot would go a little bit wide and graze his ear rather than crashing through the center of his skull. And that's completely understandable. The only problem I'm having is finding video footage and stuff that shows Trump's exact positioning on stage. And I'll show you with another image why that presents a little bit of a problem. Because the photo has been going around, there's lots of videos going around of when the shooting started and stuff like that, that showed when Trump got hit, when he got nicked. The problem I'm having is pinpointing his exact position on stage, right? Because if he's in this area here, you know, facing the crowd this way, that's one thing. He could actually turn his head, and a shot from here could actually miss and graze the top of his ear with a head turn. However, if he's positioned on this side of the stage, or he's not behind the main podium, then that presents a whole other set of factors that come into play. Especially with this piece of farm equipment here, because this direct line of sight, it's not much more elevated than the stage position. So I don't know if this piece of farm equipment would have gotten in the way of this line of sight or not. I mean, if you were standing, you could probably go over it. But if you're lying prone, I think there's a possibility that this may have been in the way. However, if you look a little bit more at the photo here, you can see right here, this is that water tower we were discussing. And that would be well above everything else and put a direct line of sight to where Trump's at and would allow for a shot that could miss and actually graze his ear. And to top it off, there are 3 witnesses that have come forward and said that there was a shooter that was on that water tower. And I want to say it was Dan Bongino had talked to some of the guys that were on the inside, and FBI and some of the guys from the Secret Service had somehow calculated that that bullet trajectory, the shot had to come from 400 and something yards away as opposed to feet. Which, if you add the downward trajectory, the height of the tower and stuff like that, it would come closer being that from the tower than it would this location here, because this is only maybe 132 yards, 140, somewhere around in there. It's a little over 400 feet, which is an easy shot. I'm not going to lie to you. Though I do have my doubts about this 20-year-old being able to do it, especially if he was only running irons or only had like an EOTech red dot sight on it. I have my doubts about that. I mean, if I was going to do it and I was taking a shot, even at 400 feet, I would probably opt for iron sights if I didn't have some sort of zoom function on it, or some sort of low-powered variable optic. You know? I mean, that's just me. If the guy's been training for over a year, maybe he's been training with iron sights, and he was confident with it. I mean, that's a possibility. But I don't know, it's just, something doesn't smell right about that to me. And then, let me show you one more photo. We have this photo here. This is Trump at the rally. Okay? As you can see, you've got the press box, you've got the woman that didn't know how to holster her gun, standing right here. Oh, if you guys haven't seen the video of that, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Priceless, though. But this back here is the building the guy was on. From this angle, I think you guys can see what I'm talking about. If this is Trump at the podium talking to the people. And this is the building the guy took the shot from. And the photograph of the bullet that grazed Trump's ear when he turned his head, it doesn't add up. You know? The angles, I need video footage of where Trump's actual position was on the stage. You know, some sort of view like this, or from someone else in the crowd that showed his exact positioning so I can really pinpoint, see if the angles actually match up. But from this photo here, if Trump's in front of the podium right there, then this angle doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Because Trump would have had to turn his head to the left ever so slightly, and the bullet trajectory would have had to come from almost straight on for it to have grazed his right ear. But in the video, we see very clearly Trump had turned his head to the right, and it avoided the shot, and the bullet grazed his right ear. This seems problematic to me. Maybe you guys have seen some footage or something that I haven't, but it seems very problematic to me. I don't know. You guys tell me what you guys think, all right? Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your guys' opinions on it. Okay, so we've gone over some of the angles and stuff. I've let you guys know some of the stuff that I'm questioning here that doesn't really add up to me. I could have missed something. Not gonna lie. But I've been going over the aerial photos and everything else. The aerial photos make sense, and that photo that I got of Trump from behind, maybe he wasn't behind the podium then while he was talking to people, but it seems like I would have seen the podium or something to his left if that were the case. But if his podium was there, and in that shot he was standing in front of the podium, then the angles don't add up. They don't make sense as far as bullet trajectory goes. I mean, that would pretty much be a straight-on shot. You know, face-to-face, impossible to miss. Even without optics. That's an easy shot, right? The angles don't add up. The angles just don't add up. Or at least not in my opinion. Like I said, hopefully maybe one of you guys caught something that I haven't, or have been doing a little bit more digging on the area itself than what I've been able to today. But if you have, let me know. If I'm wrong, hey, I concede it, no problems. It's very possible I haven't missed something. But I said that angle doesn't make sense. And there have been at least 3 people at the event that have come out in different news reports and such that said that there were shots that didn't come from the building. They came from the water tower. And one lady even claimed that they had taken out someone that was at the water tower. But that's not being reported. Secret Service hasn't said anything about it. The local PD hasn't said anything about it. So we have a real Kennedy-style bullet theory here, right? I'm not going to put you through all of the witnesses because there's multiple videos of each of them, but I'll at least let you watch one of them and you can tell me what you think. Do we have a killer in the grassy knolls type situation here? I mean, if what I'm seeing from the angles and stuff is correct and I'm not wrong about that, then it seems very possible that there was a shooter from another location that wasn't discussed as far as the media is concerned or Secret Service. And if that's the case, then that would tell me that Crook was a fall guy and that this was set up in order to take out Trump, and by some miracle, Trump wasn't taken out. Anyways, I'll let you guys watch the video. We'll come back and we'll discuss it a little bit more.
One shooter shot to the left. He killed a gentleman in the water tower here. Now, when I called my husband at home, who's watching TV, he said, I thought Trump hurt his ear when he went to the ground. But he said, no, on TV they showed before Trump hit the ground, the ear was bleeding. So that sharpshooter went across, Trump turned his head, his ear must have been nipped, and it killed somebody in the stands over to the left.
Could you see anyone injured besides the blood on the former president?
All I saw was the gentleman from Beaver County who spoke earlier in the day, who was running for the state house representative, Elmore, I know his name. He had a white shirt on, and I saw him come from that left stands where the people were mostly shot. I think there were several. They said 3 medevacs left here. Blood was down the right side of his... He wasn't shot, but you could see that he was next to somebody who must have been bleeding profusely, because he either helped them and ran, rubbed against them, or tried to get them help or something. It was covered, so I knew that he was near somebody. That was my first indication that somebody was actually shot, when I saw his blood on his shirt.
Aaron, when did you realize that, hey, this might not be fireworks, this might be something else?
When they got Trump down on the ground. We were just so concerned that he wasn't hit, because we couldn't. It happened so fast. It's really hard to process it. I guess if you have it on your camera to see the exact minute, you can tell. But when he got up, he did not look bad at all. What I've heard coming out here is now they feel that there was 2 shooters on both sides. So they got the one on the tower on this side, but the one on the right side they never got. So that's why they wanted us to leave immediately, because they thought there's still a shooter out there somewhere. So there could be in these woods around Butler. And I feel sad for our country. I feel sad for everybody, you don't like the guy, don't vote for him. Don't kill him. We love the guy. We're going to vote for him. What is up with his violence? It's just terrible. I just wish.
Okay, so if what that lady's saying is true, and there's at least 2 other people that claim they saw the same thing, it makes more sense as far as the angle goes and where Trump was actually hit at. But there's a lot more questions that go into this. It's painfully obvious that with everything that's going on, I think they knew about crooks, but I also think they knew about the setup that was taking place. And this completely dismantles the leftist arguments and even some of the Christians, conspiracy theorists that are out there claiming that Trump set this up on his own. That is literally the definition of asinine. It's one of the dumbest theories I've ever heard. Let me explain why. If you're Donald Trump, you're going against Joe Biden, right? Bumbling Joe, the guy that can't even piece a proper sentence together on his own. We saw how terrible he was in the debate. He has lost all kinds of credit. The Dems are trying to force him out of the race, right? And they were doing that well before this stuff happened with Trump. Trump was going to win by a landslide without this event happening. So why, if you're a billionaire, a man with as much wealth and power as Trump has, would you run the risk of someone trying to shoot that close to your head, knowing that if it's off by even a centimeter, you're gonzo? What did he have to gain? I'll wait. Please, somebody, explain it to me. I'll wait. Put it right down there in the comments. I can't guarantee I won't call you stupid, but you can put it down there in the comments. I'm saying it makes no logical sense. None whatsoever. What makes sense is the fact that, like Kennedy, Trump wants to put an end to the wars. How many billions of dollars have we sent to Ukraine at this point? And, the day after this happened and Trump didn't get eliminated, Zelensky all of a sudden is talking about he wants to work out a peace deal with Russia. There's a lot of components here that don't add up, and I don't believe in coincidence. Just like Mayorkas, Cheadle was set, she was going to be called before Congress to be questioned about this entire debacle. And Congress demanded everything. Phone communications, comms, strategies, plans, layouts. They wanted all of it. Mayorkas has stepped in, the little weasel that he is, and has tried to make sure that she is not questioned before Congress. Why? What does she know? What is he afraid that she will say? We've already seen Biden and the left try and lock up and ruin the lives of their political opponents. How far of a stretch is it to think that they wouldn't hesitate to assassinate their opposition? This is the definition of tyranny. This is a banana republic. I mean, think about it. In all honesty, just think about it for a minute. I'm sure you'll come to the same conclusion that I do. I mean, this doesn't add up. Even in fairy tale land, this doesn't add up. I mean, this is one of the sloppiest jobs I've ever seen. Hands down. You know, so who's the killer in the grassy knolls? Who is it? You know, the water tower? I mean, this is another reason why I don't believe that this kid was programmed. Drugged, maybe. Radicalized? Definitely. But I don't think he was programmed. I don't think he was a multiple. Multiples that are trained for assassination, we're trained top tier. We would have got the job done. And he would have either committed suicide or he would have been eliminated, but he would have got the job done. That much I can guarantee. Most people aren't aware of it, but our own government has a little program that's meant and directed towards creating stage events and false flags. Mainly for a long time it concentrated on jihadis, radical Muslims. And basically what they would do is they would go online and communicate with them, social media and stuff like that, and radicalize them. How much of this have we seen take place on the left here in the last few years? How many conservatives or Trump supporters were killed, beaten, maimed by these radicalized individuals? How far of a stretch is it to think that this guy wasn't just radicalized, but given support? Where did he learn how to build an RCIED? Who taught him that? The FBI came out and openly admitted that his phone was encrypted. Who encrypted his phone? There's also another video. I was trying to find it today, and I'm sorry that I couldn't bring it to you. I'll do it in the future. But there was a woman at the Trump rally. Moments before the gunshots rang off, she was on her phone, frantically messing with her phone. And then when she put the phone down, the gunshots rang off, she showed no reaction whatsoever. Who is she? Is she connected to the actual shooter? Is she connected to crooks? What's her involvement? These are questions that need to be answered. There's no way that this wasn't an inside job. I don't see that as even being a possibility. Like I said, the way that I see things right now, I believe that, the kid's 20. In high school, he loved technology, right? What sort of a 20-year-old can be as radicalized as he was and not have a presence on social media? I mean, if the kid was wearing a Demolition Ranch t-shirt, obviously he watches online content. Think he doesn't comment or talk to some of these lefties that he's a part of? There's a video out here of him losing his marbles, screaming, talking about, Republicans should have their throats slit and that Trump should die. Doesn't sound like a conservative to me. Doesn't sound like a Republican. The people that knew him said that he hated politicians. So that would tell me if he hates all politicians in general, and he's talking about slitting Republican throats and everything, then he's far leftist, most likely socialist, possibly communist. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't add up. Tons of stuff that doesn't make sense. I mean, and the Biden regime are doing everything they can to control this. Why? If they weren't directly involved, why is it such a big deal for Cheadle to go in front of Congress and give a testimony? Why did she run out from the Senate when they were trying to press her on this? There's a million questions with no answers. However, the lack of answers gives us plenty to use our deductive reasoning and come up with a logical conclusion. Logical conclusion is the powers that be wanted Trump eliminated. And I think this is twofold. I think possibly they do view Trump as a threat to the current status quo and the destabilization of America. I think they also knew that if they had managed to assassinate Trump on live television, that it would have caused so much civil unrest, they would have got the civil war in the states that they were wanting. They've been pushing for it for years now. Think about it. Bumbling Joe or Kamala Harris being in office, Trump gets assassinated on stage, the stock market goes into shock, people start to become unhinged, the left would be out rioting and chanting in the streets, praising what just happened, just like we've seen now. People saying, don't miss next time. Kyle Gass said it right in the middle of a Tenacious D concert in Australia. They got canceled for it, which honestly I think is pretty hilarious. But how many of these leftists have been saying that? Look at that left-wing dipstick Destiny and his rants and tirades he's been going on. We're unstable as it is. I believe that an event such as that probably would have pushed us over the edge and they would have got the civil war they were looking for. And my logical deduction and conclusion, it makes no sense for Trump to even try and stage this on himself. Too high of a risk for what for what benefit, what reward. He was already going to win anyways. It wouldn't have gained him anything. Not that it wasn't already there. For operations like this, it's risk and reward. What's the risk and does the reward outweigh it? For Trump, the risk doesn't outweigh the reward. It makes no logical sense whatsoever. Think about it. Don't get in your emotions, don't get in your feels, but think about it logically, from a logical perspective. Right? Now, these wackadoos on the news and everything else, they're never going to admit that, and they're never going to apologize for misleading the public based on their wackadoo theories, but I don't expect them to. So any of these people that you may be watching that are Christians and they're spouting out the same conspiracy theories that extreme leftists like Joy Behar and some of the other people are spouting, the proof's in the pudding. That's some bitter pudding. Just saying. It doesn't make logical sense. It really does not. So please don't get caught up with those people. It doesn't. I know some of this is kind of all over the place, but I'm trying to take a ton of information that I've got 3 pages of notes on. I'm trying to compact it into a video that's less than 2 hours, guys. I'm trying to give you where my mindset's at. Because this whole thing makes no sense unless certain aspects are proven true. I think it's possible that there was the main shooter in the tower, in that water tower. The angle it's right. It makes sense. Makes a lot more sense than the building does. I think Crooks was a fall guy. They needed someone they could hang this around. And he was it. So no matter what the public believes, if the public believes he's a right-winger, okay, then the lefties get what they want. If it comes out and the mass majority of the public believes that he's just a leftist nut job that registered as a Democrat one time, no skin off their back, because the public views him as a leftist nut job, and he's dead, so he can never tell his secrets. Does that make sense? That's the way this world operates. You keep the public dismayed and confused. Only a handful of people will ever know the truth. And short of dragging them down to Guantanamo Bay and putting them through waterboarding and other things, and then releasing that to the public will never know the truth. That's how this world works. Anyways, guys, hopefully I was able to come across at least somewhat clear and concise in my thought process here. Hopefully you've gotten something out of it. If you have any questions or anything, or I didn't explain something well enough, please let me know in the comments, and I promise that I will look over the questions, I will assess my response, and give you a clear, logical explanation. I will even do another video on it for you. Okay? So, having said that, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. A couple of updates real quick. Just a reminder that we got canceled by our payment processor on the website. I am working on finding another one that's not a bunch of leftists that take issue with us investigating pedophiles and shutting down their trafficking rings. So, yeah, it's getting kind of hard these days. So, temporarily, we are accepting donations and stuff on GiveSendGo because they're not going to cancel us. But all you have to do is go to givesendgo.com/ArchangelMinistries91 and you can donate. We desperately need it right now because we have a special operation that is going to be taking place in October, and between now and then, I need to raise about $4,000 to cover the cost of everything. Because it's not just me that's going to be on this op, it's a few other guys too, and I got to make sure not only are they taken care of and squared away as far as, time missed off work, but we also need travel expenses and things of that nature as well. So any help that you guys can give, much appreciated. Thank you so much. I will be speaking at a conference in October as well. Um, our good friends over at Camp Ramon are putting on a conference, Mysteries of the Land Between the Lakes. It's going to be an awesome time. I'm not sure if tickets are available yet. I'll find out for you guys. I've got to talk to Chris tomorrow, anyways. But I'm really looking forward to that. They asked for me and Janice to come and speak, and I told them yes. I know it's going to be October 18th through the 20th. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. That would be really cool. I always like to meet, the people that have reached out to us or comment or talk to us in person. I really enjoyed that. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a really good time. Apart from that, guys, that's everything I have for you. So stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. Stay armed. Stay dangerous. I'll talk to you later. It's Archangel. I'm out.